Hello, dear students. So far, we have done 3 classes, and this is class number 4. We have learned very general things about the process of translation. The most important thing is the 2 approaches we need to remember, the semantic and the communicative. And also, we learned how to do the text typology, the type of the text, to decide what type of text we are translating. In this class, we are doing something related but different. Let's read the title of this class. Analysis of the text, تحليل النص. And then a smaller title, pre-translation. And the abbreviation is PT. Okay. When do we analyze the text we are translating? When do we do that? Pre-translation. Now, pre is a prefix that means before, prior to. So we analyze the text before we start really translating it. Let's see. Now, translation is not only about transferring a text from English into Arabic or the opposite. It's not only that. There is a lot more to consider and think of than that. The pre-translation process, it is a process. It's not one step. It is a process that we do before translating. In this process, the translator understands the source text. You want to have an idea about this text, how it should look like when translated. What is it about? What does it say? So there are lots of factors that we need to consider before starting work. Which work? The actual translation. Now, when you clarify these factors, these points, and you realize what issues you have to pay attention to at the very beginning, you will find the process of translation very easy, and it's going to be very smooth without any difficulties. So pre-translation is something what we call, yes, of course, it says ما قبل الترجمة, but it's something like preparation. You are preparing yourself for the translation. تحضير ما قبل الترجمة. Now, pre-translation has 2 dimensions, general and particular or close. Let's see. In order to understand the text, the source text, you need to do 2 kinds of reading, general reading and clause reading. The general reading, while doing this general quick reading, you need to understand the meaning of the text. What is it about, right? How do we do that? For example, if it is about a subject that you are not familiar with, you might want to do some background reading. Look up an encyclopedia, some specialized books or papers. you have to understand the subject you are going to translate. Always remember that for the translator, the function of the text is essential. What does this text want to do? Always remember that in every phase. Okay. What about the close reading? Everything has to be clearly explained to yourself. For example, common words like serpent. Well, we know serpent means snake, means حية or ثعبان. But make sure that this word is not being used musically or figuratively. Because you can say that this person is like a serpent. So you mean that this person is deceitful, is sly. So it's not a word for word, no. And we agreed on that at the very beginning. You need to understand the meaning of this word here in this context. Acronyms. You need to find the target language equivalent. And by the way, this equivalent could be absent. It could be not there. Do not invent. لا تخترعوا. Even if you notice that the author has invented them. And of course, we know the meaning of acronyms. Acronyms is a kind of abbreviation. Figures and measures. Figures أرقام and measures القياسات. Convening to TL, target language, where appropriate. You have to change these. Okay, let's take an example and things will be clearer. Here we are. Let's go. When you come across an acronym like that, this is an acronym. What IMF? What does this mean? You have to look it up. You have to find out. IMF is the International Monetary Fund, which means صندوق النقد الدولي. Okay, so this is what I mean by acronym. You take the first letter in every word, IMF. So you cannot put it like that. You have to say صندوق النقد الدولي. Okay, we know this sign at that we use with the computer. You have to understand that this means at. Another sign, this is the sign of the US dollar. So you have to translate it as دولار أمريكي. Okay, CD. Do not write CD. It's compact disc. القرص المدمج أو الأسطوانة المدمجة. UN, this is another acronym. United Nations, الأمم المتحدة. NATO, NATO, حلف شمال الأطلسي. Okay, so you need to work. You really need to work a lot before the actual translation. What about measurements? What about measurements? You really need to convert the measurements, because when you read in Arabic وكان طول الرجل قدمين ونصف. How do I know قدمين ونصف? What is this قدمين? يعني طوله إيه? Okay, so you need to convert. And these are things that you will find everywhere. There are dictionaries, there are online dictionaries everywhere. So you need to know that 1 inch البوصة الواحدة بتساوي 25.5 مليمتر. 1 foot القدم بيساوي الرقم اللي انتوا شايفينه. طيب المتر الواحد بيساوي 3 أقدام و28%. Okay, so you need to convert الجالون، الأونصة، الرطل، الميل، الياردة، القدم، البوصة, because you want your translation to be communicative. Okay, so do not give me things that I cannot really understand. We do not use these measures on the left side. We use the measures on the right side. So you are allowed to convert. أحول. Okay. So that was about the general and close reading, quick ones. Now let's zoom in more. Zoom in means focus. You know, when you focus your camera, you take a very close shot. This is the meaning of zoom in. تفاصيل. We need to look at the details, what we call the intra-textual features. Intra, it means inside, because the opposite will be extra, outside. So intra means inside, textual comes from text, and features means ملامح. ملامح النص الداخلية. And these are very important. We'll explain them with lots of details. Okay. Christian Nord, this is one of the famous critics, listed several intra-textual features that the translator should analyze, should clarify, should understand. 1, what is the subject matter of the text? What is the main topic of this text? Okay. So after having defined the main topic of the text, what is it about? Is it about science? Is it about the moon? Is it a story? What is it? You need to decide if this text requires any special terminology, مصطلحات خاصة, or background knowledge. Maybe you need to read, as we talked at the beginning. Do you need to read about the culture of the text? You need to read about some technical issues. Do you have to have certain particular specialist knowledge? هل النص متخصص؟ So you need the terminology. هل النص for example عن الهندسة المعمارية؟ So you need to know a lot of terminology. Are there any non-verbal elements? Photos, diagrams, logos? Are there any of these? What will you do about them? And why are they there? Do they have a function? How would you characterize, describe the vocabulary of this text? Is it technical? هل المفردات تقنية؟ Jargonistic, which comes from jargon, which means a special field that you need to know. هل هو مثلا نص نقدي? So you need to know the jargon of criticism. Or colloquial, عامية. Are there any collocations? Collocations means متلازمات لغوية. And we will take an example now. Idioms, keywords? Are there words used and chosen for particular effects? Abbreviations, acronyms, neologisms. Neologisms, this is the new invented words. Particular lexical fields. Lexical here means معجم. هل في مفردات قاموسية أو معجمية خاصة that you have to know? Of course, this takes time. This takes time, and this is serious. You have to take this part seriously. Otherwise, you will end up just translating something in a very sloppy way. Look at the sentence structure. Are they long, short, simple, complex? Because also you do not want the result, the translated text, to be a different text from the original. How would you describe the style of this text? So these are all intra-textual features, features that have to do with the text directly. Okay. We need to do some examples. First of all, a neologism, as I told you, is a newly coined word. Yes, sometimes, not sometimes, all the times actually, we coin, بنصيغ new words to go along with the change in life. And we use it in our everyday life. For example, this is a very interesting word. I like this word. Staycation. What is staycation? Staycation is a vacation. It is a vacation. But when you take a vacation and you spend it at home, so it's called staycation. Okay. You will hear children all the time using this term, BFF. We are BFF, or she is my BFF. This is newly coined, actually, and it means best friends forever. A third word, I'm sure you have seen that a lot. It's even being used in Arabic, fashionista, fashionista. And even in Arabic, people use it like that. Fashionista is a woman who is fond of fashion and people follow her to know the latest trends in fashion, okay, fashionista. So these are all what we call neologisms because these are newly coined words. Now, what is a collocation? A collocation is a group of 2 or more words that usually go together. Why? Nobody knows. هو كده. هو كده. يعني you cannot say I will have a powerful tea. You cannot say that. This is very wrong and nobody will understand you. You have to say I will take a strong tea. شاي تقيل. Okay, so you cannot say powerful. That's funny. People will laugh. You have to say a strong tea. And of course, as you see, when you translate it, it does not become شاي قوي, شاي ثقيل. Okay. Now, a good way to think of the word collocation, so you will always remember the meaning, think of the first syllable, co. Co means together. Co means together, and location means place. So these words are always together in the same place. For example, you have to say, I will do the laundry. You cannot say, I will make the laundry. No way. Do the laundry. I will do the errands. I will do business with someone. I'm going to do the shopping. When it comes to make, you have to say, I'll make a cup of coffee. You cannot say, I'll do a cup of coffee. I'll make a cup of coffee or tea. Stop making noise. I'll make the bed. I'll make a business deal. Well, what you say makes sense. I will make time for you next week. So this is what I mean by collocation. Okay, and the best two examples would go with do and make. And of course, there are thousands of collocations in English language. Okay, so these were just examples for what you need to prepare in relation to the intra-textual features of the text. Okay. Part of the intra-textual features as well is to think of the intention of the text, the function of the text. What does the author want to do? And of course, the intention of the translator. This is you. The author has an intention in writing this. The translator has an intention in translating this. Intention of the text. You keep searching for the intention while reading. And indeed, you cannot isolate the understanding the intention of the text from understanding it. You cannot say, بعدين هبقى أشوف الموضوع ده. No way. If you understand the text, pre-translation, you will understand the intention. They go together. Do not depend on the title only of the text, because the title could be very far from the intention. The intention of the text represents the SL, the source language writer's attitude to the subject matter. موقف الكاتب من الموضوع. That's why this is the meaning of the intention. Intention هنا doesn't mean النوايا. مش هدور في النوايا. No. I have a text, I have language, I have style. This should make me understand the attitude of the SL writer. Function, motive, all these would go with the intention. Because what is the text trying to get the reader to do? Of course, this is the intention as well of the writer. Texts have purposes and authors have intentions. Either I want to convince you to do something, or I want you to accept a new law. I want to inform you about something. I want to persuade you to do something. I want you to convince you to eat more healthy. I want to teach you how to do something. So there is always a function and an intention. Sometimes there is a motive, الدافع. What was the impulse that prompted the production of this text? What was the motive behind this text? So sometimes you can just find the motive and sometimes not. Usually in political writings, you can look for the motive, الدافع, okay? But focus now on the intention of the author, which means the attitude and the function of the text. Okay. Let's talk about motives. a little bit. Now, motives differ, even if the topic is the same. I'm doing this part just to give you an example. Two texts may describe a battle or a riot or a debate or a revolution, the same event, and they would state the same facts, the same statistics and figures, but the type of language used and even the grammatical structures in each case would highlight a different motive, a different intention. Example, look at that. Now, I have here two sentences about the 1919 revolution, 1919 Egyptian revolution, of course. Look at the first sentence. The actors of the 1919 revolution believed that the British were exploiting Egypt. The actors, the participants, المشاركين في ثورة 19 كانوا على يقين أن البريطانيين يستغلون مصر. Look at the second sentence. During the 1919 revolution, it was believed that the British were exploiting Egypt. It was believed. What's this? This is in the passive voice, مبني للمجهول. فين الactors؟ فين الناس المشاركين؟ الجملة الأولى أقوى حقيقة. الجملة الثانية لأنها مبني للمجهول ولأنها لا تنسب هذه الفكرة لأحد. It was believed by anybody that the British were exploiting Egypt. So وكأنها إشاعة، كأن ده كلام مش حقيقي، ولكن الجملة الأولى أقوى. شوفوا بقى, the two sentences speak about the same thing. The same thing, but the structure of the sentences, one in the active, one in the passive, it tells me about different motives and intentions of the author. So in the first sentence, the intention of the author to talk about what happened, to state facts. In the second sentence, the intention of the author is to belittle what was happening, belittle, يقلل من شأن ما كان يحدث. So this is the importance of looking at the grammatical structures and the sentence structures. Okay, now what about your intention? Usually, بشكل عام, the translator's intention is similar to, identical with that of the author of the source language text. Usually, because if the author wants to inform the readers about a new invention, then the translator also wants to translate this in order to inform the readers about this new invention. But sometimes you could be translating an advertisement, a notice, some instructions to show how such matters are formulated and written in the source language. Sometimes you do that. We know that any advertisement or notice or instructions should be translated from a communicative approach. But sometimes you translate these semantically to show me how another culture writes these instructions. Okay. So the intention of the translator is always different. Usually it is identical and similar to that of the author of the text, but it depends. Translate these instructions for us so we can see how they phrase them. ازاي بيصيغوا التعليمات, for example. Okay. But all the time you have to keep asking yourself, why am I translating this text? This is an important question. Why am I translating this? Is this knowledge really that I want to transfer? Is this something I need the readers to know about? Is it something I want to start convincing the readers of? So all the time you need to think of your intention. Okay, what about the text styles? We have done that before, of course, when we did the typology. But many people have talked about styles. Let's see. Now, Eugene Nida distinguished 4 types of text. If you remember earlier, we did Peter Newmark's typology, and we talked about the types of texts. Now, we have also Eugene Nida. So these are names, please do not forget. Peter Newmark is very important. Eugene Nida is very important. What are those 4 types? Narrative, okay. Sardi, so you have sequence of events. This happened, and then this, and then this. And usually in this text style, the emphasis is on the verbs because it's narrative, it's narrating something, something is happening. Description, now, while the narrative is dynamic, description is static. And the emphasis is on linking verbs, adjectives, and adjectival nouns, because when we describe, we use adjectives. Discussion, the text could be a discussion, could be a debate, could be about a theoretical idea, abstract. So all the time you need to have a lot of verbs on your hand. Consider, argue, state, emphasize, iterate, because there is always an argument. So you need to know also how to connect this argument. You need to know the meaning of such words, therefore, similar to thus. مش هنألف في الترجمة، مش هنألف خالص، because احنا لابد أن نقوم بإيصال ليس فقط المعنى ولكن أيضا التأثير. The 4th type is dialogue. And of course, in a dialogue, there is always an emphasis on colloquialism, اللغة العامية. So Eugene Nida believes that there are 4 styles, okay, 4 types of texts. And this is to decide the style of the text is part of the intratextual features. I need to decide what is the type of this text. I'm here reminding you of Peter Newmark's typology, and we did that already. This is just a reminder. Remember, 3 types: expressive, informative, and vocative. We did that before, just reminding you. So do not confuse. And both are correct. Both are correct. But we did Peter Newmark's categories when we were trying to decide which approach to use, semantic or communicative. In this part with Eugene Nida, we are deciding on the style of the text as part of the intratextual features. So I need to increase my vocabulary in order to be able to translate accurately. Are there other styles? Of course there are other styles. Simply, you can say this is a journalistic style, أسلوب صحفي, formal, رسمي, factual, يقرر حقائق, literary, أسلوب أدبي, poetic, أسلوب شعري, rigid, جامد, persuasive, مقنع. So of course there are other styles. Now, deciding the text style helps you to increase and enrich your vocabulary repertoire, محصلة اللغوية. For example, if it is a discussion style, you need to find the correct equivalent of words like argue, يناقش, reiterate, يستدرك, state, يقرر, add وأضاف قائلا, emphasize, يؤكد, consider, يأخذ في الاعتبار, object, يعترض. So you need to find really the very correct equivalent if you are translating a discussion style text. If it is a dialogue, let's have this example. Because when it comes to dialogue, we're speaking about colloquial language. And when we say colloquial, there is a big difference in cultures. Let's look at the example. ناوي تبيع بكام؟ صلي على النبي. اللهم صلي عليك يا نبي. كمان زيد النبي صلاة. اللهم صلي عليه. ها؟ إن الله مع الصابرين. يا أخي خلصنا هتبيع بكام من غير فلوس. We as Egyptians, we understand this. Okay? We understand this is a form of bargaining, فصال. Okay. And of course, it's not من غير فلوس. محدش هيبيع من غير فلوس. But ده جزء من الفصال. لسه بنبتدي بنسخن عشان الفصال. اوكي. طيب لو جه حد ترجم بقى ده into English. جه واحد كده خواجه والعربي بتاعه قوي جدا. اوكي. ومترجم وده حاجه موجودين كتير قوي في الدنيا. وابتدى يترجم. تعالوا نشوف ترجمها ازاي. What's your selling price? Bless the prophet. May he be blessed. Once more bless him. May he be blessed. Well, patience is a virtue. Come to the point, my brother. دي أول مشكلة. Come to the point, my brother. اللي هي ترجمت يا أخي خلصنا. يعني this man is talking to his brother. How much will you charge? Nothing at all. So it's because they are brothers فاداها له من غير فلوس. طبعا غلط خالص. مش حقيقي. It's not true at all. That's completely wrong. So the translator should understand the cultural context very deeply in order to be able to translate something like this. مفيش هنا اخوات, they are not brothers, and there is going to be money, and من غير فلوس is just a compliment. دي مجاملة ليس إلا. اوكي. لايك احنا طول النهار نقول خليها عليا بقى. اوكي. بنركب التاكسي طول اليوم ويقول لنا خليها عليا. رايت. فلازم مرة نخليها عليهم فعلا علشان نبطل الكلام المجاني ده. So the English version, as you can see, is very unclear for an English reader. He wouldn't understand. So culture here is very important, and this is part of analyzing the text. This is your job before translating the text. You need to clarify any issues that are not clear enough. We have zoomed in on the intra-textual features. Let's zoom out on the extra-linguistic or situational features. Now that I have understood the text, analyzed it, the style, the acronyms, the neologisms, the sentence structures, the subject matter, everything. I look at what is outside the text. More the text is an event. التكست هو حدث in this world. Okay, so what were the circumstances? إيه الظروف التي أحاطت بخروج هذا النص إلى النور؟ Let's see. Extra linguistic يعني خارج اللغة, or you can call them situational features. Situational, of course, comes from the word situational, موقف. Now, any text is a communicative event. أي شخص بيكتب حاجة بيكتبها to communicate something to me. And this event is always embedded in a situation or context. في سياق ولذلك النص محكوم بالسياق, determined by its situational features. What are these situational features? When we list those features, you will understand. Let's see. Now, of course, we understood that extra means external to the text and they influence the way a text has been written. Okay. Of course, the situational features are part of analyzing the text, are part of the PT, the pre-translation process. We need to understand the context, the situation, and we need to remember that the elements that are external to the text, outside the text, influence the way this text is written. الظروف الواقعة, السياق اللي خارج النص يؤثر على الطريقة التي يكتب بها النص طبعا. Like what? Time of reception. يعني time of publication. When was the source text published? سنة 1850 ولا سنة 2020؟ When was it received by the audience? Are there any elements in this text that link it to the time of production? Because if it is published 1850, then I need to go back and read about the context. إيه السياق اللي طلع فيه الكتاب ده؟ So time of reception and publication is important. Place of reception and publication. أين نشر الكتاب ده? Where was it published and received? And when it was published, was it international or just national or local? When it was published, what was the form? Was it a book, printed book, or handwritten book, or is it published on Facebook? Is it published on the internet? Was it published in a newspaper? Where? What was the medium of the publication of this text? So time, place, and medium of publication, these are the extra linguistic, or what we call situational features. So we analyze the intratextual features. This is our very close reading. And we analyze also the extra linguistic situational features, and this is part of also analyzing the text. All this is what we call PT, pre-translation. All this, you have not started yet the translation. But if you do that, if you work hard on this process, the pre-translation process, if you work hard, the actual translation will go very smooth and will go easily without any difficulties. So the analysis of the text was our class for today, and thank you very much.